We endorsed the people that we thought would be the best candidates. It would be nice to have a woman on the ticket, but it just didn't happen to work out that way. We wanted to endorse the best person, whether it was a man or a woman.
Completion of 6 new family transitional housing apartments in West Duluth is bittersweet for housing coordinator Lynn Gerlach-Collard. There's satisfaction of knowing people will move in soon, but still the reality of many more families without such a home.
Boy, well, I wish there were even more of it, because this isn't even going to touch the need in Duluth, but I'm really glad to be a part of this.
Requests for family transitional housing are escalating, and the program can only serve a small fraction of those in need.
Earlier this year, we had requests from over 100 families who felt a need to be a part of our program, and we could help only about 19 of those families. So there's a tremendous gap between what the demand is and what the provision is at the present time.
Families that do get into transitional housing end up receiving more than just a place to stay.
We do weekly home visits. We have a money management class that people are required to attend. We have residence meetings, a support education group, and we have access to a lot of other community resources.
During the 18 months families stay, the program assists them in preparing for independence.
People, by the time they leave, with all the support they've had along the way, they're usually hooked up with a job or education program. In almost all cases, they have some kind of real solid plan for their future.
Families will start moving into the newest transitional apartments as early as next week. In Duluth, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
Have you found that people want to?
In 1961, when this bridge was first built, it cost $21 million. And we expected that the people at that time expected about 14,000 travelers a day to go over it. When it was closed a little over a year ago, or less than a year ago, there was 28,000, and to refurbish the bridge, today's dollars, it costs $35 million. And what a partnership.
It just shows that when people work together, regardless of what differences may exist, be it politics or be it level of government, the reality is when the community as a whole comes together, we can accomplish things, and we can accomplish things a lot faster than expected. And this is an extraordinary project.
Thank you, Governor. Again, as I mentioned, great...
If you're talking about blending it as an employer, they've always been an excellent employer. They've always given to the community. They've shared. You need something, they're willing to help the community out.
And finally got planted into a tree.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. That's all I can say.
Happy it's back?
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a nice trip. Glad to see it open.
Drive careful and enjoy it. It's going to be here a long time.
It wasn't a trial, but a special panel of the U.S. Figure Skating Association has convicted Tanya Harding on all counts, finding her guilty of violating the ethics of good sportsmanship. The disgraced skater was stripped of her 1994 National Figure Skating title and banned for life from participating in any event sanctioned or sponsored by the Amateur Skating Association, which includes many professional events.
Ms. Harding's actions as they related to the assault on Nancy Kerrigan evidence a clear disregard for fairness, good sportsmanship, and ethical behavior. The panel further concluded that such actions are clearly detrimental to the welfare of figure skating and sport.
Harding, who admitted helping in a cover-up of the Kerrigan attack, a plea bargain to possibly more serious charges, is now doing community service in her hometown of Portland. She chose not to defend herself before the Skating Association panel and, in fact, has dropped her membership in it. The taking away of her title and the lifetime ban were the toughest of all possible sanctions the Skating Association could have taken. Ms. Harding does have 30 days to appeal, or she could go to court. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Denver.
So the particle size was sufficiently small that it could penetrate the lungs, which is why this was used as a sort of simulation of chemical or biological warfare, but it's also why I have real concerns that it was used in my state of Minnesota.
During our talks, Rob told me how much he wanted his little girls, then 4 years old, to live with his good friends, Lance Ricard and Candy Geary, and their son. He told me of his concerns with his own mother and how he had decided it would be best for his children to live here in Duluth with the couple with whom he'd become so close. The children's mother had died before the girls were 2. It was shortly after our story aired that he made a will in which Rob clearly stated his desire to have Lance and Candy become foster parents and his intent for the couple to adopt his children upon his death. What seemed so cut and dried to Rob when he talked with me became embroiled in the legal battle that has now raged for months. When the Texas Supreme Court ruled that Minnesota did indeed have jurisdiction and that a district court ruling from Duluth giving custody to Lance and Candy should take effect, everyone thought the struggle was over. But it would be 2 months before a Houston judge would reverse his order, which had given custody to the twins' grandmother, Phyllis Duracek, and then almost a full week before Natasha and Felicia would be reunited with Lance and Candy.
They never, ever lived with the Garys. The Garys were only respite caregivers and babysitters, paid babysitters by the social service agencies, period.
And now we'll be entitled to receive $1,200 a month from Social Security benefits for the 2 girls, in addition to any other state funds that might become available to them because of the orphan status.
Well, we've done all kinds of stuff, like we cleared out a ski hill, we hauled brush, chopped wood. We've cleaned up the fairgrounds here and set up fencing, repaired barbed wire fences, all kinds of stuff.
Ryan Hom is not describing a summer job. For 10 days, he's been part of a sentencing to service work crew.
This is my last day, and I'm happy about that. It's been, like I say, overall a fairly decent experience. I don't plan to do it again, though, that's for sure.
Sentencing to service participants are all nonviolent offenders, selected by a judge to work on community projects in lieu of jail time.
In the supervised work crews as an alternative incarceration is one of the few things judges are able to do in this complex society these days where it's a win-win. In other words, it saves money for the taxpayers, it saves money for the government, and it's a very effective tool to rehabilitate and punish offenders.
One of the most visible STS projects is Wade Stadium. Crews spent 5,000 work hours preparing the stadium for Northern League baseball. Project coordinators say STS work on Wade Stadium alone saved the community $25,000.
I cannot think of one drawback as far as the sentencing service program is concerned. The community benefits, the crew member benefits, the taxpayer, back to the community benefits.
In Proctor, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
I think they've been struck by the fact that all of your belongings, all your personal effects, your whole life can just be washed away in a matter of moments, and I think that's the most powerful thing that they come back with.
Here we are along the edge of it. You can see the amount of the flow is pretty substantial. This is not an insignificant amount of water that's being diverted.
You're listening to the director of the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District as he videotaped storm runoff from last April. On that day, heavy rains washed sewage into Lake Superior because of the city's storm sewer system. The city has worked for more than 2 decades to find a solution to this problem, including replacing manhole covers and redirecting runoff from downtown businesses. But experts now feel the principal source of the problem is private homes.
It's only pointed out the problem more as going back to the homeowners. We didn't see the reduction that one might have hoped for by just doing those big fixes. So now we're to the logical conclusion, which all the data shows, is that it's coming from people's homes.
During heavy rains, water slides off clay soil, but is absorbed by sand and dirt surrounding people's basements. That rainwater creates a problem when the foundation in one's basement is connected to the city's sanitary sewer, as it is in many older homes.
We'll have sewage coming out of our manholes onto our streets. We'll have sewage having to be bypassed at our lift stations, primarily along St. Louis Bay or Lake Superior.
Cloquet, Hermantown, and other smaller communities served by WLSSD have already solved their problem. Tonight, the Duluth City Council will consider an ordinance forcing Duluthians to make the same changes. The ordinance would impose fines of $100 a month for those who don't comply. Repairs could cost up to $1,300 per home.
From what I've seen, it depends on if the homeowner can do some of the work themselves. If you have a homeowner that can do the work, it could range from a couple $100s to, if you get a contractor to come in, to the $1,350, depending on how complex the installation is going to be.
Community groups say the financial burden on homeowners is too much, particularly for people with low or fixed incomes. The city is seeking grants and low-interest loans to help homeowners pay for the repairs. In Duluth, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
Again, it had stopped when I was out here earlier. It was just a light drizzle.
He has received in excess of thousands of dollars of PAC money. I've pledged not to take any type of PAC money in my campaign. In fact, I believe Tom Rukavina should take his PAC money and give it to the charities, to the food shelves on the Iron Range.
I've lived in other states. I lived in Wisconsin for 2 years. I lived in Indiana.
You were in jail from when to when?
February 10th to July 1st.
Remember where the others were?
Pine City or Grand Forks or
Over 200 people have already signed a petition that calls for the stiffest possible sentencing for Arthur Nordahl, and more are signing every day.
Have you had a chance to look at the petition there, Virgil?
It's about.
It's pushing for the maximum sentence for Art Nordahl, who's pleading to a lesser charge, and...
Oh, good golly. Okay.
Petition forms can be found in several businesses in downtown Two Harbors, put there by Thomason's family members. Last week, Nordahl pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in the death of Christine Thomason. Previously, he had only admitted to cutting her body up and spreading body parts throughout the woods. Parts of Thomason's body have never been found. Authorities won't confirm this, but sources close to the investigation say Thomason's fingers, toes, head, and parts of her torso are still missing. Authorities were able to positively identify Thomason through radiological and DNA testing. Many Two Harbors residents say Nordahl should spend the rest of his life behind bars.
I just would like to see him get the maximum sentence.
Yes, because anybody that does something like that deserves the maximum.
I would like to see him in jail forever. 2 little kids are without a mom because of him, and a family is without a friendly person.
Lake County Attorney Bruce Anderson does intend to ask for a sentence longer than that which is currently mandated by the state sentencing guidelines, citing the gruesome nature of the crime and the suffering of Thomason's surviving family members, including her 2 children, ages 6 and 8. The state guidelines for second-degree murder with Nordahl's prior aggravated assault conviction would be 27 years. He would be eligible for parole after serving only 18 years. Anderson intends to ask that Nordahl be sentenced to 6 extra years, making him eligible for parole after 22 years. Nordahl will be 69 years old in 22 years. Judge Kenneth Sandvik will hear arguments from both Anderson and Nordahl's attorney on August 23rd. Meanwhile, Nordahl awaits sentencing in the Carlton County Jail. In Two Harbors, Barbara Riles, News 6.
When Rudy Perpich announced earlier this week that he wasn't running for governor, he explained he didn't feel the state was ready for his innovative policy ideas. But that was only part of it.
The other part, of course, is the financing. The finance laws were changed. It takes a much longer time to get the money that's necessary to conduct a campaign.
The finance laws have indeed changed. Beginning in 1993, the maximum contribution allowed to a state politician dropped dramatically. For gubernatorial candidates, it's now $2,000 during an election year, down from $20,000 in 1991 and $60,000 prior to that. Large contributors who heavily financed campaigns in years past are no longer a factor. That hurts candidates like Perpich. In 1986, he received a number of large contributions, which helped him dramatically. In addition, the new law also states that other politicians can no longer contribute money out of their campaign funds. The state requires politicians to reduce their campaign funds at the end of each election cycle. In the past, many politicians would use the extra money in their campaign chests to make a contribution to a gubernatorial candidate. That way, they would reduce their funds and they would help the candidate of their choice into the governor's mansion. State Senator David Battaglia has over $16,000 in his campaign fund. Because he's not seeking re-election, he has 5 years to give it away. Under the old laws, Rudy Perpich would undoubtedly have seen some of that cash. The new law is forcing candidates to seek funding from a much broader base of contributors rather than just a few, which is exactly what the law was intended to do. In Duluth, Ted Rowlands, News 6.
Okay, this is a Bell 47 G3B1 helicopter. This is float equipped. It's got, these are rubber floats here. They weigh about 24 pounds apiece. It's a nice ride helicopter because it's got a large bubble in the front. It's incredible, the visibility in this thing. I don't think there's another helicopter on the market that'll match the visibility that the Bell 47 has. It holds 3 people, and let's go have some fun.
energy savings and using fluorescent bulbs, that by staying away from the incandescent bulbs, the net saving to the environment, even with the extra work of having to recycle those materials, it's a net winner for the environment.
And then they need to manage those properly and report the results, the quantities each year. It's the score. That's your 6.5% tax on garbage. Part of that goes back to it.
Sit there, look at all those people around you, get acquainted.
My sister. Like I lost her during Richie Havens.
New York State Thruway is closed, man.
Good morning. What we have in mind is breakfast in bed for 400,000.
City McGee, please come immediately to backstage right. I understand your wife is having a baby.
Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song.
We drove right up that road, and beyond these trees was this magnificent natural amphitheater, as if someone had designed it for our purposes. And Michael and I looked at each other, our eyes were shining, and we knew this was it.
I can remember that just where we're sitting right now was the beginning of the stage construction. And there were all these guys with bandanas around their head hanging off of the rafters of the stage. The whole scene became more and more incredible.
Most of the performances looked like the beginning of MASH.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. The helicopters were buzzing around.
Some people never found each other. There were signs tacked up and long lines of people calling home to tell their parents they were okay, which was always really very, very charming. I mean, in the middle of what was supposed to be the hippest thing that happened in the 60s, people were lining up and calling their parents to tell.
Today we had a fire down in the northwest corner of this building. It started in the basement. We're still trying to find out the cause of the fire. Cloquet Fire Department was first on the scene. They're the ones that knocked the fire down, and the rest of us are here for mutual aid for East Bremerton.
We should keep on the table the option of forcibly removing the dictators who have usurped power in Haiti and who have trampled human rights and murdered innocent people.
The fact that if you're over 15 and they catch you on the street and that they're going to send you immediately to detox is horribly assumptuous, that you'd be doing that. And for me, I find it offensive because if I'm on the street, I probably wouldn't be drunk.
More than $15 million worth of equipment is on display at the Itasca County Fairgrounds. One of the most innovative pieces of forestry machinery is this cut-to-length system.
This is a machine that goes out. It actually cuts the tree off, tips it on its side, and these big feed rollers here pull the tree through the knives, which cut all the limbs off, and then every 8 feet, the saw comes back out and it cuts off a block of wood.
The price tag, $480,000. Like many other businesses, forestry has become more dependent on technology and less labor-intensive.
I guess you can say when I first came in, we had bow saws and crosscut saws, and we're doing a lot of things manually. And that gradually changed to where we started using Caterpillar tractors and heavy chainsaws.
Along with the technology, environmental awareness is growing. Low ground pressure tires have been designed to prevent heavy equipment from damaging the forests.
We don't make a track in the woods hardly with these machines. They don't rut up the woods. They don't cut up the ground. The Forest Service likes it. The private people like it. It's just a good system.
The North Star Expo continues through tomorrow with equipment displays, seminars, and contests. In Grand Rapids, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
As I was reflecting on this, I thought certainly the chalk shadows may be startling to people, but it is a dramatization of the reality of war, especially of the effects of nuclear weapons. And I think each generation has to understand that for itself.
Like I said, the maintenance people are complaining about the chalk, and they have to go behind you and clean up, okay?
Well, is there one of them here? Because I'd be willing to help clean them up.
Is everybody's problem. We have to teach our young people from a young age that you resolve conflict in ways other than violence. You have to respect other people's rights and their persons, and sexual assaults, rapes will not be tolerated in Superior or any other community.
I don't know if it's fair to have one of my deputies act as the sheriff or under sheriff if I had to be gone. I really don't think that was fair, and that's one of the reasons why I talked him into letting me have Dan Jensen back for a short period of time.
And they're coming from northern Washington, and there's 100 of them, 5 crews total, 3 crews from Wisconsin, 2 crews from Minnesota, and they were on the Tai complex, which is the name of the fire they were on.
Yes, it's hot and dry, and there's a lot of fires back there.
There's still a lot of crews out west.
The fires are still going. A lot of them have cooled down, but there's new ones starting, so there's more help that's needed. Some of the crews that are coming back now just been out there long enough. It's time for them to come home, enjoy their families again and some of their friends.
Steady on course 335.
The Coast Guard is setting a course down memory lane. 50 years ago, Duluth shipyards built most of the fleet's cutters. They have been called working memorials to the Twin Ports shipbuilding contributions during World War II.
Very well. Stay up on course 348.
Today, the Twin Ports' own cutter, the Sundew, escorted two sister ships, the Acacia and the Briamble, back into the Duluth harbor for a 2-week training conference.
I thought that this summer would be a great time to host it in Duluth because this is approximately the 50th anniversary of the building of all these ships here in Duluth. Duluth's the birthplace of these ships.
Now secure for mooring station.
This weekend, current and past Coast Guard cutter crew members will join some of the original builders of the ships for a reunion. But the emphasis on the ship's return to the Northland is on training members of the 180-foot buoy tender fleet.
The training conference, it kind of encapsulates all sorts of things, anywhere from positioning of aids to navigation to buoy deck safety to survival in the water. It's a complete training conference that covers all different areas.
What we're going to do this afternoon is
Training kicked off today after the 3 cutters docked near Duluth's Deck Auditorium. The first lesson, learning to inflate a life raft. There's much more training ahead for these crew members, but it won't all be work.
It's a big Coast Guard weekend, and there'll be a lot of fun. The ships will be open for tours throughout both of the weeks, and it should be a lot of fun.
Reporting from the Duluth Harbor, Stephanie Guadian, News 6. UTU strikers say Canadian replacement workers have been hired to do their jobs, and they want a full investigation into the matter. The Immigration and Naturalization Service is following leads, but isn't finding any violations.
There have been a number of sightings, shall we say, of Canadian workers, but they haven't actually caught anybody yet. But they seem to be working quite hard trying to catch them, though, so I'm satisfied that they're doing their job in trying to track them down. They seem to be pursuing the leads that are given to them fairly well.
The language in NAFTA says that a country can choose to deny immigration papers during a labor dispute, but whether that is going to happen here is up to Attorney General Janet Reno. Meantime,
we're out there. We're still there, hanging in.
Hanging in there.
Yep.
the Duluth base will be a third of its original size. A ticket reservation center will be built in Chisholm as opposed to a jet engine repair base in Hibbing. The total package will cost $330 million when the original cost was $759 million. And finally, this deal will create 950 new jobs instead of 1,500. Where does the money come from? Northwest will front $5 million for the Duluth base. The state pays for the rest. Northwest will repay $25 million in bonds in yearly installments. The IRRB will pay for the entire cost of the ticket center, but only if the airline reaches employee targets. As far as economic impact, the ticket center will generate $323 million in wages over 30 years, and the Duluth base $255 million.
We would like to see it a lot shorter. For instance, how many people are driving more than a 10-year-old automobile that they would consider safe? And the same thing goes for airplanes.
Do you think that your experience in flying jets and
the cutting edge of technology, and therefore having to draw on NASA's expertise.
Greater degree of safety than anything else flying in its class.
Oh, plenty. It's been a really enjoyable trip for us. We've been on all the boats, all 4 of the Coast Guard boats, and we've also toured the Rose, and that was really magnificent.
That exists of such agreements among gasoline retailers or wholesalers. If that evidence is found, we will vigorously prosecute in either civil or criminal court as appropriate. And effective antitrust laws that prevent predatory pricing by large companies, pricing practices of large retail chains.
You destroy your life. And that's why Governor Carlson has strongly made that the cornerstone of his... Governor Carlson is a jobs governor and will be a jobs governor. Jobs is that each and every one of us, I think, probably feel about...
Workers' compensation is a tremendous barrier to success. And in 1995, that's going to be on the lead part of our agenda. We want workers' compensation reformed so that we can be on an effective par with the state of Wisconsin.
Circumstances. Yeah, it's tough sometimes to sort this all out and say, why do I want to do this job? Why don't I go to another job or do some other profession where my risk and my chances of getting hurt by some crazy person is a lot less.
Head first. Have you ever dived into a swimming pool and did
Yeah.
a belly flop? That's what we're going to do.
With a smile on Sarah Trombley's face, it's hard to believe she's fighting a losing battle with lymphoma. Despite surgery, ongoing chemotherapy, and a bone marrow transplant, Sarah isn't giving up on life. Instead, she's making the most of it.
I've had lots of good times through it all, and I've been able to be positive, so I just enjoy every day.
Especially if it means traveling thousands of feet above Earth for a dive through the sky.
Oh, I'm excited. I have all this energy. I don't know. I can't wait. Let me answer.
And looking up. Can that be an art? Okay. Sarah's friend Tina Gold set up this skydiving adventure. It was something the two have always talked about doing.
Even if I didn't go today, it wouldn't matter because I love her to death. And if I can make it possible in any way, shape, or form, then that's what I'll do.
After much anticipation, the two friends fearlessly boarded the plane. All that's left now is taking the big leap.
She's really fun and a neat person. She's got a good attitude. She's not afraid to die because she knows where she's going to go.
There, how was it?
It was unbelievable.
Get her in here, too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
my goodness.
What'd you think?
To do that sometime.
What'd you think of it?
This day was really fun. I thought it was really good. Except for almost the best thing in the world. It was awesome.
It will be hard to top the excitement of their skydive, but after today, these two friends have a memory they'll keep forever.
Well, Mom and Dad, we made it.
In Superior, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
No internal bleeding here. She was worried about internal bleeding because my foot really ended really hard. Oh my gosh, and it hurt right here.
The Lake Superior Museum here has an excellent historic collection, including the steam locomotive you see in the background. And it was decided after quite a search that that was the locomotive that would be most suitable for the Hinckley Fire Centennial train. So.
It's back to school, and for many that means a new look. But what's vogue? How much is it? And most importantly, who's paying? These are all questions that can be answered using Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of death and dying. The first is denial, in this case between a teenage girl and her mother.
If I shopped with her, we'd be fighting all the time because it's like, no, you're not. She's like, no, you don't need that. And it's like, well, I'm wearing it, you're not.
Anger is the next stage, but this is almost always felt by parents, especially when items that the children have selected are priced at the cash register. Unfortunately, some parents don't even get the chance to make the decision concerning their youngsters' fashion.
I just buy it, and then my mom doesn't have any choice because I already got it home.
Yeah, we'll take them. Our next step is bargaining, which seems to be highly fashionable these days.
Yeah, you see a lot of kids going, I'll pay $20 on an $80 shoe, or I'll pay $30 on a $100 shoe.
We see a lot of dealing with parents. The kids want the one higher priced item and then they bargain and get the lower priced item also.
Next up, stage 4, depression, which incidentally can work both ways. The clearance rack is usually within a parent's budget, but most likely doesn't contain highly popular brand names that kids want. Parents have also been known to get depressed quite frequently at checkout counters. The last stage of shopping is acceptance. Of course, it comes in 2 forms: parents' acceptance.
Sometimes you'll see parents that don't care what they get whatever you want.
And kids' acceptance.
All the popular stuff that everybody else likes is what I look at.
Somehow, I don't think they're the same. But one thing that does remain the same is shopping slang. So parents remember, flats, Cavaricci, Jabot, flannel, no fear, Air Strongs, and Bad Karma are in this year. But be prepared, you most likely will need a credit card or a second mortgage to pay for teenage taste. In Duluth, John Jetta, News 6.
Yeah, I'll put it back.
I was just laying down on the beach and my kids were playing and I heard someone yell help a couple times and I looked up and I couldn't see anybody and then they yelled again and I looked up and then I ran up to the street to see if anybody would call for help, but I think somebody called on the cellular phone and then some people flagged down 2 guys in a fishing boat and they came in with the saviors. They were the rescuers.
Fisherman Dwayne Olson was able to launch a small boat and pull a father and teenage son from the water, apparently suffering from hypothermia.
Well, both of them shivering pretty bad. The boy was a little worse than the father.
boy was the one that went in the life flight, I guess. And the father was coming around pretty good in the ambulance, I guess.
"32-year-old William Gumtow was arrested on July 27th in connection with the death of 26-year-old Todd Goodwin. Goodwin was shot to death at his apartment building on the east hillside of Duluth. Gumtow, a neighbor, fled the scene, but was arrested 5 hours later following a tip. The gun used in the shooting was found in bushes near the apartment building. Ammunition for the gun was found in Gumtow's apartment. Gumtow claims the shooting was in self-defense. The only eyewitness to the shooting is his wife. Bail has been set at $200,000. The next court date is set for September 23rd. Michelle Lee, News 6.
And when I get these other people, I'll start them working up the Castle Danger Road here.
8:45 a.m., representatives from 6 different law enforcement agencies converged on Castle Danger to set out a plan of action for a full-scale manhunt. The subject of the search, 19-year-old Stephen Sauer. Despite his young age, he has a lengthy police record featuring an incident involving cocaine and armed robbery.
We don't know if he is armed, but it's always that possibility. You'll be the only ones on the lower side. Done. It'll be the only ones on the upper side, and it will work that way. Due to the rugged terrain here, he could be hiding under a rock or behind a tree or something like that. So it's really going to be tough to find him.
Assisting in the search, the Minnesota State Patrol helicopter and a canine unit sent up from Duluth. At 10:15, a sighting of the suspect is reported to police.
And a guy stopped and said, "Are you looking for a guy with this shorts?" And we said, "Yeah, we are." And he said, "Well, I saw somebody down near this residence."
The person who stopped with the tip told police what he knew. Then he and his wife drove the canine unit to where he had seen the suspect. By 10:40, the chopper was overhead and the forest was flooded with law enforcement. It didn't take long for Dake, the Duluth police dog, to pick up the scent.
He did just what he's trying to do, pick the track up. We went down the driveway here. We flushed the suspect out.
The canine stopped and was making sure where his track was, and I happened to notice the suspect hiding under a camper. And at that point, I yelled for the canine officer, and the suspect fled.
Sauer ran across Highway 61, but was apprehended just before 11 o'clock.
We're grateful no one got hurt, or no shots fired. It was a successful arrest. If anybody takes about a day, it's the dog.
After the arrest, the officers involved thanked each other and parted. Stephen Sauer was taken away. He'll be extradited to Canada. And Dake, the police dog?
Oh, I think we'll find some sort of reward for him today, maybe a piece of steak or something good.
Ted Rowlands, News 6.
Welcome to the New Day for Minnesota bus tour around Greater Minnesota. Help that you're going to be giving in the next few days. Thank you for being here together.
Lifelong Democrat. My parents were Democrats, but I'm ready to time in Duluth because I got so many good friends here, and Bob and Teresa.
It's just all threats and intimidation on the part of the governor. They consistently campaign this way, threats, personal attacks. We think they ought to talk about issues. We think they ought to debate both things that they're unwilling to do.
Arnie Carlson and Bill Clinton have a lot in common. They've raised your taxes. They support government-run health care that will lead to rationing. They support gun control as an answer to crime. They favor legalized abortion into the 9th month. And neither Clinton nor Carlson has ever been endorsed for governor by the Independent Republican Party. On September 13th, elect a real Republican. Vote for Alan Quist.
Carlson and Clinton go together on a lot of issues.
Arnie Carlson and Bill Clinton have a lot in common. They've raised your taxes. They support government-run health care.
It's false. Any reaction to that?
It's just all threats and intimidation on the part of the governor. They consistently campaign this way, threats, personal attacks. We think they ought to talk about issues. We think they ought to debate both things that they're unwilling to do.
We're also disappointed that we didn't get to stick out the full 21 days. Unfortunately, weather conditions, rain, and the incoming snows determined us we had to be back here.
Things never stay the same, and just like Duluth's history has been one of boom and bust, people always have to revision and to keep moving in order to stay ahead.
Sometimes it takes a little
too long for the lawyers to do that.
Some of the
Studio and then once in one of our buildings there, and the feedback has been positive, and it does of course save the lawyers and their clients some money, and it does save the state budget some money. So my guess is that we'll continue to do that, and probably a great deal more.
We offer to the parent or legal guardian who would contact us short-term emergency, either licensed daycare or overnight care up to 72 hours. And we can offer referral for the parents and just some support. We want to encourage a healthy family unit.
I think that may put them heads and shoulders above some of our other competition. It's an innovative product that they are developing, working with school systems. They had a very, very strong business plan, and that, of course, that's one of the things we were looking for in our business plan competition.
Jets and planes make a lot of noise over a large area. The more air traffic there is, the greater the noise. A study about to get underway will attempt to determine how many and what type of aircraft will be flying in and out of the Duluth Airport over the next several years. Airport Director John Grindon sees significant possibilities for major expansions in the near future.
Oh, yes, I think that the maintenance facility to be built by Northwest is just the beginning. Cirrus is an example. These are just the beginning of things I think are going to happen here, and each one of them breeds some spin-off businesses, so it's very good for the community.
But Grindon fears that type of development could be blocked unless community planners are more careful.
Because you can see it in Duluth now. We are doing, I'm afraid, what every community has done, and that is begin to build closer and closer to the airport with commercial development and residential development.
Grindon points to developments like the Lakes 8 movie theater and the 166-unit townhouse development on Stebner and Maple Grove Road in Hermantown as examples of non-airport compatible development. But Hermantown City Planner John Clare says both are within current zoning regulations, and he says you can't stop developing prime property in the hope something might happen sometime down the road.
But at this point in time, without any firm plans for what the expansions are and how it affects the communities around the airport, I'm not real sure what we can do.
Clare says he intends to continue aggressively pursuing development within the current zoning restrictions. The study could end up broadening those restrictions, but it's not expected to be completed for up to 2 years. At the Duluth Airport, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Construction of Superior's East most pressing, how the school On March 28th, 3 young Duluth men were shot to death in this house in the East Hillside. The men had been partying here earlier in the evening. Within hours of their deaths, 2 teenagers who'd also been at that party were arrested for the killings. 18-year-old Todd Warren has been charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder, and 18-year-old Doug Toll has been charged with aiding and abetting murder in the second degree. This week, Judge Robert Campbell ruled that some powerful statements given to police by 18-year-old Doug Toll can be used in court when he goes to trial. In the statements, Toll admits that he drove the vehicle to the party house with the understanding that Warren's intent was to kill the men and that he was with them on the thing. He also admits to loading the gun used to shoot the victims. In 3 separate statements made to police on March 28th, 30th, and 31st, Toll reiterates his confession. Judge Campbell's order says Toll's statements were voluntary and that he made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his Miranda rights. The order also allows samples of Toll's breath, blood, hair, and saliva taken the morning of the murders to be used in court. And a leather holster and shirt worn by Todd Warren, seized when the 2 young men were arrested, can also be used as evidence. Earlier, Judge Campbell ruled that a confession made by Todd Warren to authorities that he killed the 3 men is admissible in court. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Our position is that the New Bloom youngster should be tried as an adult and face adult consequences because of the serious nature of the crime he's alleged to have committed.
Okay.
heavy over there at that time to take that on. But we know what he has now. We know what he doesn't have. So it's not going to be necessary to send over the 500,000 troops like they did last time. It's going to be a pretty small operation.
If you're 65 or older or have chronic heart or lung problems, this should be you in the next couple of weeks. Across the country, healthcare providers are offering flu shots to combat the annual attack of the virus. And they're actually encouraging not just high-risk people, but anyone over 10 to get immunized.
It's a good idea to get the flu shot. It really is. It helps stop the spread of flu. The thing is, you never really know how bad the flu season's going to be until it's there upon you.
Last year was a bad year in most of the nation. A viral strain called the Beijing flu hit early and hard, leaving illness and death in its wake. U.S. Health Secretary Donna Shalala says it doesn't have to cause such destruction.
The flu virus has not been snuffed out for good in this country. We still lose 10,000 to 45,000 Americans per year to the flu. These are mostly older Americans whose lives could have been saved with a simple flu shot.
Most area doctors are offering flu shots at their offices and clinics now, and county health departments throughout the region have the vaccine in as well. In St. Louis County, the health department has begun holding senior citizen flu clinics at various sites throughout the county. You need to get a flu shot every year because the virus keeps changing. The shot costs $5, but for the first time this year, Medicare will pay for those who qualify. Shots will also be offered here at the St. Louis County Health Department Tuesday evening, starting next week. You can call the site closest to you to find out the times that they're offering shots. The public clinics are aimed at protecting those who are at increased risk for flu and its complications, but they will provide the shot for anyone who shows up. For the majority of people, the shot poses no risk, and it will not cause the flu. Health experts say it just makes sense to get it. In Duluth, Barbara Ryle, News 6.
Hopefully targeting the high-risk groups, right?
Yes.
As frequently as we can. B-roll of the tape that you'll be seeing today. Table. Please let Zena or Sherry at the table. Good afternoon. Before I began, I wanted to introduce two guests. Bill Westbrook, who is here, and he's president of South Delegates in Minneapolis Ad Agency, our communities, in our schools, and in our culture. The first step in giving every child in America
I think in the future people can do that. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. This is the new, we're doing this year.
It means a lot to me to give back and to help other people go through probably the worst part of their lives, and that there is hope for the future. Life does go on, and you learn to grieve and heal, accept, and smile again.
This achievement award is presented as a token of our appreciation for your gracious efforts for the Junior Flyers basketball fundraising dinner September 18th, 1994. Your sensitivity and generosity will long be remembered. Courage Center Duluth and Junior Flyers basketball team. We really appreciate all that you guys did for us, and who knows, hopefully this will be an annual affair. An annual affair.
Oh, Marnie, you're
so,
naughty. Well,
thank you.
Oh man, I was just glad there was nobody in there. Yeah. Because it did explode. The walls were out 20 feet all the way around the building. It was a bad deal.
I was just at the governor's conference this morning. Carlson and Marty.
Tonight they're going to express their opinions. It's open mic, open forum. No one's going to say what they can't say. Okay. One of the most important things that we're doing tonight, though, to collect the information is we're giving out a questionnaire. Okay. And what it does is, and they don't have to sign it. There's a disclaimer on.
And part of public service is service to the public. And I'm 7:30 on Tuesday, 9 to 5:30. Okay. Right. It's open.
And I think he'll be serving a need that is needs to be met.
To commit crimes within our community. However, the program would not at all that, I think, the media of the city of Duluth.
Specific calls, but lots of it is very broad-based. But it's all used. I've talked it over with our narcotics unit. If we have information, even if it's very general, we're not afraid to use that and check it out. Most everything that we gave out to the different units, and we've given information to Sheriff's Department, Hermantown, Proctor, Superior.
Your help is great. Thank you. Thank you. Here, the ESM radio. The amount
that I've been around, that she was a critic of the kind of America. It is that critical in our view that, and it's no accident that President Clinton has chosen as one of the 6 or 8 most important places to campaign during the next week as right here in the 8th Congressional District of Minnesota, because he understands, as all of us do, that the fate of the U.S. Senate race in Minnesota, our endeavor to elect Ann Winia, depends on voter turnout of working people and union members in northern Minnesota.
By 10 a.m., the crowd at UMD had grown by the thousands. Everyone waiting to get into the rally had a message for President Clinton.
I don't have any really bad feelings about what the president did in his youth, because I figured when I signed for 20 years and I spent my time there, I gave everybody the right to do what they felt.
But not all were well-wishers. Some people were hoping when the president drove by, he'd see their signs telling him to go home. But then the waiting was over. Sounds from the helicopter and the motorcade told the whole crowd the president was here. Spectators caught a quick glimpse as the motorcade sped by and President Clinton waved. Once inside, the president greeted supporters with the same warm welcome.
I want to thank all of you at UMD for making me so welcome, the students here.
His message was about the future, a strong future with Ann Winia in the U.S. Senate seat.
You all know that she's had a distinguished career in the legislature, that unlike a lot of people in politics today, she is more of a doer than a talker.
And that was not the only message President Clinton had for Duluthians. Once the rally was over, the president made an unexpected sweep through the crowd that never made it inside. He spent close to a half hour shaking hands and wishing people well. An opportunity that most people in Duluth thought they would never get. In Duluth, Molly McMillan, News 6.
Washington, promising change with the newly elected mandate.
We are going to begin with what Republicans were talking about, the simple contract with America. Things that Americans have been asking for was never put on the table. Balanced budget, term limits, line item veto, Congress to live under the laws it passes.
And I want you to look upon this election tonight as just one step in a battle that is going to continue to go forward in behalf of those issues and causes that we hold so dear. And I do not give up the cause. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you.
issue. We talk about food items, who are concerned about the basics. I mean, that are left, the elderly, who are, what we're trying to do is do the TV interviews. What it'll do is it'll give us 5. This is the time of year when most people do think about sharing. The need never goes away. We need it year-round. But this is the season that we're going into when people have been very good about opening their hearts and helping others.
I'm not getting the right answer here. And they said,
we work with a multidisciplinary team. We have a member of the prosecutor's office, a member from law enforcement, either the sheriff's department or the Superior Police Department, and a social worker present for the interviews. One person would be conducting the interview, and the other team members would be in a monitoring room feeding in questions because everybody has a different focus or a different role for the interview. The building rapport with the child, the anatomy identification, that Dick said that it's different with the videotape than with the nothing happened to this kid, and feel good about that.
county case over in Minnesota was probably one of the most horrible examples of feeding children what they should be telling you. We're hoping that this is an opportunity for everybody to see what did the
I went to Fisherman's Corner and kind of got an idea what they said. They said another week they'll probably be driving on it, but they said to walk out.
Just put some on. I can't see what I'm grabbing any if I knock them out. You can't see what you're missing. I know it.
We have lots of people who have done this before and know what they're doing. I would have been absolutely lost without them. And we have 2 baking days to make lefse and rosettes. People donate cookies, and then we also have cheese and things to put out.
Me as a first benefactor, and then my daughter here as a second one. We did a lot of reach there. She's calling us continuously. Already, everybody's fearing that. I noticed how depressed Monty was getting after he was thrown in jail for breaking into his own home. And I called the doctor and the counselor to see what we could do, and I was told that we can't commit him, he would have to commit himself. The first time he was thrown in jail, I'm babysitting over there. I'd been there Wednesday, Thursday.
If Santa were really a good Santa, he'd bring me a microscope for the classroom. I just think that's a wonderful science tool that enhances their curiosity.
City streets and alleys, which creates, which becomes more efficient for us to only run one truck instead of two. In turn, we plan on lowering our operational costs and passing that savings on to our customers.
We were in Hill City playing in a band for a New Year's Eve party.
Jeff's the saxophonist and I'm the vocalist. We're a big band. And we finished the job and on the way home things started happening.
Get back home to Duluth, and an hour later, two couples will drive in. Now, is this the place we get those great? It has a way of growing by word of mouth.
Where you can drop your tree off at a collection site, and then the tree will be chipped up, and the wood chips then will be used for hiking trails, alternative fuel, mulching. If you want some tree chips for yourself, you can pick up some chips for your own uses in the spring.
This year, particularly now that we have some snow, and they're in the Christmas attitude, and it's going great.
My mom and dad, when we were younger, they always had the artificial tree and kind of wore out that. It's kind of old.
No, this is a labor issue in terms of my contract. I guess the point being here is that we're all employees. I'm not a politician. I'm not an elected official. I'm an employee hired to do my job. And frankly, that's what we tried to do. We had a situation.
So they violated this when it comes to Talbot as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the lawsuits and the information that you get, I will
And you
try and get
got-
a hold of.